But let's talk about you.
Yeah, well, I'm taking advantage of having you as a private book coach.
Right.
Yeah, so I saw your post. I think I will accept all of those recommendations, the ordering, the word reduction, um, and basically kind of redesign it. I think those are all excellent suggestions.
I think it's always great to copy what somebody else has done when they've done it well as a starting point. I mean, that's kind of the point of Austin Kleon's work with Steal Like an Artist is you steal stuff and then you change it, you make it your own.
Yeah.
And so I do the same thing that you're doing. I'll copy something that I really like, but then I make a tweak and another tweak and another tweak. And over time, by the time I'm done, nobody can tell where it started from, but it just helps me to get started.
Yeah. It's like that book we talked about when we first when you first launched it a long time ago, the one with Sean Connery and the and the and the and the black kid who was like a really good writer. Do you remember that movie? I can't remember what the name of that movie
I
was.
remember that meaning, Finding Forrester. Was
Finding
that the?
Forrester.
Yeah.
That's it. Where uh, Sean Connery would give him like the first line of his book and he just wrote something completely unique. But then the dean of the school accused him of plagiarizing and tried to kick him off something. And then, Forrester finally had to say, had to come out of hiding and defend him that, he just let him borrow those words.
Yeah.
The rest is original.
My favorite part of that movie is actually where Sean Connery talks about how socks are designed the wrong way with the seams on the inside.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah. So when you do these events, um, is it just going to be Q&A or are there going to be, oh, somebody else is here. You want to?
Yeah. Got Michael jumping on.
Hey, Michael.
Michael, you can talk and we can hear you if you want to talk. We've got a small group here today, so. But go ahead, Gene. You were saying?
Oh, yeah. So, I don't even remember. I kind of lost my thought. I can't remember what I was saying.
These events.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These events. So these weekly events, are they going to be kind of just like group coaching, the similar before, or are you going to try to make it more interactive, more gamified, as some people would talk about it, just to make it more exciting for people to join these?
I think 90% similar to before with Q&A, but yeah, I want to bring stuff in that's a little bit more interesting and do some events, have people share specific things and invite people to prepare stuff ahead of time, like book covers or intros or have giveaways, stuff like that. So I do want to make it a little more interesting over time, but I still feel like the main value is going to be people getting answers to their questions.
Yes. And you said you were going to do evergreen. So you're not planning on doing a launch and bringing a whole group of people in at the same time.
Right. I mean, I'm always going to be pushing. With this group, it's going to be any question, anytime, anywhere that you're in the process, bring your questions. Let's get them answered. If you're stuck at the beginning, if you're stuck at the end, if you've already finished your manuscript and you just need help with the publishing side of things, let's answer all the questions. So I don't want to make it a lockstep program. That's what the next level up is the lockstep program where you join a smaller group and we're going to go through from beginning to end in 1 year. But this group is just going to be join, unjoin, whenever you need it, it's here.
Okay. Now I designed my own cover, this very simple cover. Again, is designed it exactly like the person I copied it from. I don't know if I used the exact same fonts because I don't know what fonts I use, but again, you notice that the design is probably similar. For something as simple as that, I probably don't need a book cover designer, right? I can just follow the tips you gave, shorten it, reorder it, and basically just, there's no reason to hire a book designer for something that simple, is
Yeah.
it?
Yep. I just brought up your book cover so we can look at that, except I think I actually clicked on your YouTube link.
Oh, there's the book cover. The thumbnail is the book cover.
Yeah, I guess we can just look at this. So,
Yeah, I mean, if you zoom in on it or you maximize it, you'll, without playing, you'll get the full book
whoops,
cover.
I clicked on it again.
Just hit pause or go back to 0.
No, that's not the way to zoom in.
Just maximize the screen and then hit pause and move the video back to 0.
I'll just leave it there so I don't do anything weird again. But okay, now we can see your cover.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't need to hire a book designer for this. I just, I had a client recently who has the money. And so he did hire a professional book designer, cover designer, and he paid $5,000 for a cover designer. And he got a cover he loves, but it was literally like the first choice. She went, she did, I think she designed 3 covers, and he looked at one and he's like, that's it, we're all good. And he just chose it. No revisions, nothing, just took it. And so I was like, well, that's great that he got a cover that he loves. But at the same time, I was like, that was a lot of money for pretty easy work. I don't want to minimize the work that book cover designers do, but there are a lot of clients who will go through 20 revisions, who will really extract every ounce of value from a cover designer. And this cover designer was just good enough that she got it right on the first try. And, but 5,000 is way expensive to pay for a cover design. You can get a really good cover design for, I mean, at the most people would pay maybe 2,500, and you can get a really good one for under 1,000 if you go to 99 Designs or something like that. So, and you don't necessarily need one, but they can polish things up a bit. I mean, you could get your cover 99% of the way there, and then probably pay a designer like 100 or 200 bucks and just say, hey, can you just polish this up a little bit for me? And they would be able to make some minor changes with fonts and line height and arrangement and just polish it up a little bit so it just has that edge.
Okay, well, I'll kind of see how that goes. I think the book cover is probably not my number one priority right now. Number one priority is actually writing the book. And I'm actually doing this time what you suggested last time, which is starting to build a book army. And I'm doing that by hosting these events and offering a group of people who are interested in the topics that I talk about a chance to be co-authors. And basically the commitment, they're going to get their name on the book cover. They're going to get an Amazon author profile like all of your authors did, and they're going to get their name and their photo featured on the inside of the cover. But for them, it's kind of like a 6-month commitment of weekly meetings where we talk about the latest addition to the manuscript and any ideas they have on how to improve the flow and stuff like that. Hey,
Cool.
Michael.
Well, that sounds like a really collaborative effort. That sounds interesting. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. Yes, Michael, welcome.
Thank you. I'm just wanting to get back in the loop a little bit. I'm not close to being ready to publish, but I was interested when I saw your email and thought I'd log in and see what was happening. So I came unprepared but interested.
Great. Well, that's just fine. however you come, we're glad to have you here. And I hope that we can get you excited about moving forward on your book this year and help you make whatever progress you're looking to make. Tell us, well, let's see, where are you based at, first of
I'm in
all?
Pocatello, Idaho.
Okay. Yeah, so Gene's in Southern California. I'm in Arizona. I dare say it's probably warmer where we are than it is where you are.
Well, we've had a fairly mild winter so far, but it's not too bad.
Yeah. Well, where are you at in your book process, Michael?
Oh, I'm hitting around some ideas. I've been working as a hospice chaplain, and I'd like to write some things about my experiences and just to help people who are grieving. And so I'm kind of at the beginning of getting organized with this.
How long have you been doing that, being a chaplain?
I have, last month, I hit 13 years of being a chaplain.
Wow. That's got to be a rough job.
People say that, but for me, it's very satisfying. I get to help people at a critical time in their lives. And if I didn't have such a strong belief in life after death, I probably couldn't do this job. I did meet a chaplain who was an atheist, which seemed very interesting to me.
That is
But
interesting.
yeah, but from my perspective, I'm just helping people graduate and move on. So it's been very enjoyable. The 13 years I've worked with hundreds of people. I have a list of about 30 who become very good friends that it's been hard to say goodbye to, but I'm always happy for them when they move on.
That's interesting. This is a topic that's been on my mind lately. I've been researching books on near-death experiences, NDEs. I don't know if you've ever read any of these, but I'm reading this one right now, and it's so interesting.
Very nice.
Really fascinating stuff.
Make a note there. Thank you.
Yeah, Bruce Grayson, he's one of the more recognized experts. He's one of these medical doctors who started coming across patients with near-death experiences and recording them and studying them. And anyway, super interesting stuff. But that's a little tangent here. So
I wonder if my medical director had read that, because he spoke about a doctor who was indicating that as people get closer to passing, there's more incidences of them talking about people they're seeing who are coming into their rooms or their lives. And yeah, it's fascinating.
it is really interesting stuff. So you said your book would be, who would be the primary audience for your book?
Well, that's a good question, because I'm looking at it from a couple perspectives. I think all of us deal with loss. Loss comes in a variety of forms, and it's not just death. People experience loss through divorce, through being fired from a job. All sorts of things happen in our lives. And I think a lot of us are going through grieving in a perpetual sense. Grief is a very personal thing. I don't think we can understand someone's grief per se. Being a religious person, I believe God understands our grief, but it's different when we talk about mourning, because mourning is more about the processing. And I think we can mourn with people. We can help them. We can help them process and be there for them and support them. Even though we can't feel their feelings, we can support them through it. So it's, I'd like it to be a little bit broader than just death, and find ways to help people in all sorts of situations deal with their grieving.
Interesting. So have you been researching this? Like, where are you at? Is this just, you've got a bunch of ideas, you've thought about this?
Yeah, I'm kind of at the organizing my thought stage. There are some things that I want to research more before I get to that. There are different, obviously, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross really started off the kind of 5-step idea, but there are different ways of approaching it. And there's a wonderful book by David Kessler, who worked with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, called Finding Meaning, which he calls the 6th stage, in which once you have dealt with all of these, the processing, how do you derive meaning from it? And for myself, Josh, I had a daughter that passed 3 years ago this month. She was 32. rare cancer. And I noticed as I was processing, the two categories that things fell into are, first of all, why? Why did this happen? And I think a lot of times there aren't answers to the why, but then there's the what have we learned? And I think in processing what we've learned, there is a finding meaning that happens as part of that. So those are all ideas that I want to address. And I think in any type of loss, again, we find meaning, we find things that help us to move on. And you don't necessarily get over the loss, but you get on with it and you find a new normal. And many times that new normal is wonderful and happy. And you find you have much to contribute and you've gained from the experience of your loss.
One thing you
Michael-
mentioned, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask Michael, did you join this community last year when everybody was first enrolled?
I believe I did.
Okay, so you've been wanting
I
to
been
write a book
active?
for quite a while.
No, yeah, sure. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm the slacker member of the group. So
Okay.
Oh, trust me, we've got 70 people in the group and there are 2 of you here. So you're not the slackers, but
How many people got published, Josh, out of the 70?
there are at least, I think, 3 that I know of. There may be some others out there, but I assume if they had actually published, they would have told me, but it's possible somebody published without telling me. But there are, I think, 3 that I know of for sure.
So that's Alania, me, and who else?
My mind's blank right now. I even interviewed him for the podcast, Tobin, I can't remember his last name at the moment, but
Okay, well, there's a lot of potential in this group because we all joined for the same reason, and sounds like only 3 people out of 70 got published. That's pretty low.
yeah. And I know a lot of people were really far along with their books. Some people were 90% done with their manuscripts, but they just haven't polished it up and gotten it out there. So there are a lot of people at different stages. And there are a lot of people who, some of the people, as I've been emailing to get the group resurrected, have been emailing back and saying, oh, I'm still not ready to do my book, but I'm looking forward to it maybe in 2024 or something. So there are a lot of people who they're planning on doing it. They're just taking their time getting ready to actually do it. So, and that's fine.
Hey, Michael, did you ever go through Josh's workbook?
am I under a bright light here? I'm just kind of curious.
No, I was just curious. The reason I asked is because I went through the workbook for my first book and I'm going through it again for my second book. And the workbook has been, I'm still waiting for Josh to finish the update because I want to get the latest version of that.
Yeah.
But it's some of the things that Josh talks about in the beginning is really helpful for getting the ideas into place and figuring out exactly who you're writing for and
well, see, I met Josh a few years back when he did a conference in Salt Lake called Impact Summit, and I was very impressed with him and the way he structured that, and
wow.
just what you've done with helping people with LinkedIn, and I followed all of that as well. And I have several irons in the fire, so it's kind of what is surfacing most. I actually am also in the process of doing an album. It'll be along the same line, but it's geared at people who are grieving at Christmas time. So I've cut back at work from 30 hours a week to 25 hours a week, and hopefully that'll give me time to focus and move a number of things forward. But there was a woman who spoke at your Impact Summit on self-publishing that I was quite impressed with, and talked about a number of people who had taken podcasts and converted them into manuscripts. And I mean, there's obviously different ways. I have a friend here in town who's written a very interesting book. He's a social worker, and I'm trying to encourage him to move forward and get his work published, and it may be good for him to link in with you as well. But I'm So I come to you interested and not as driven as I want to be, but hopefully I can get myself organized.
Well,
that's
our purpose
exactly
here,
how I published my book. Is I made 10 episodes of a podcast that became 10 chapters of the book I published.
Right?
That wasn't what Josh taught, but that's
Uh-huh.
the journey that I took.
any
I
which
think
way
that-
you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, Josh. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, our job here is not to be pushy, Michael. We're not trying to push you to get your book done. We just want to support you on your journey, whatever journey you're on. Some people will take 5 years to write their book. Some people do it in 5 months. Some people do it in 5 weeks.
Mhm.
And whatever somebody wants to do, we just want to help them do it however they want to do it.
Good. Thank you. Well, I know you're a good resource and you provided a lot of help, and I know you'll help me. So when I saw your offer at the time, I think I wasn't ready to get the book done, but it seemed like a great deal. And I decided to sign on because I knew I could continue to connect and be part of this group and in time get it finished.
Cool. Well, one thing I was talking about with Gene is I think for the month of January, to try to get new people into the group and get people excited about it, I'm going to just open up January to be free for anybody to attend these meetings. So if you have anybody you know that should write a book, is interested in writing a book,
Right.
invite them to participate and come to these meetings, at least for January. They can get their questions answered, maybe to get them started. And then if they want to continue, they can. If they don't, then no worries. But
Oh, is
share
that
it
like,
around
Very
with
good.
anybody
is
you
that
know.
kind of like an offer where people can check out before they actually enroll, they can check it out for free for a month? Are you going to have like a landing page where they actually sign up?
Yeah, there is a landing page already for people to sign up. And the website I'm using doesn't support free trials. And so
Oh.
what I have to do is offer a 1-month refund policy. So that's what I'm doing is if people want to join the group, they can, and they can do it free for a month essentially, and then they can get a refund. So I just put that link in the chat there.
Okay.
That's the landing page for this masterclass. So
Okay. Very good. And so how many times would you be meeting during the month, Josh?
So we're meeting every week, every Tuesday we meet.
Every Tuesday at 2 o'clock?
And there's no obligation to come every Tuesday. It's just here if you need it.
Right.
So if people have questions, they show up. If they don't have questions, that's
Mhm.
fine. The benefit to showing up is not only are people going to get their questions answered, but we're going to hold people accountable and ask people what their goals are and keep track of that and ask people how they're doing on their books. So it's also an
Okay.
accountability system.
Okay. Now I do have one friend who's written a children's book, which he has finished essentially and illustrated, but he has questions about publishing or self-publishing. Is that something that he could?
Yeah, it's not
Could
the
it-
focus
yeah.
of this group. I mean, we're focused
Right.
more on nonfiction business book type stuff. However,
Uh-huh.
a lot of the details that apply to publishing business books apply to any other type of book. And my wife has actually self-published children's books. So yeah, I've
Uh-huh.
got some experience. And if need be, I can always pull her in and put her on the camera
Mhm.
and she can answer
Okay.
questions too.
Great. Good. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Michael, do you have any questions for me today or anything that we can help out with, or you good?
I don't. Thank you for letting me tag along at this point and for listening to my processing. And I sure in the hopefully not too distant future, I'll have a lot more questions.
Great. Awesome. And I also put the link to that workbook in the chat. So if you haven't already seen it, just click on that link and it will invite you to save your own copy. And then you can look through that and see if there's anything helpful in there for you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Is that an updated version from the one we already have?
It's the most recent version, but you might already have this most recent version, Gene.
Okay.
I really need to wrap that up. I've got so much stuff in my head that I know needs to go in there. I've had a lot of experience since the last time I worked on it. So I'm aching to get it done too.
Well, the workbook is said tons of excellent information in there. You should publish it as a book. I'm sure you're thinking about it.
Yeah, I will. Like I said last time, I already paid a designer to go through and like get it all nice and neat for a PDF format to publish. And I paid her like 2 years ago, and I need to actually get it done so she can do her work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gene, any other questions today?
No, the feedback you gave me for the book cover was I think it's spot on. So all your suggestions, I definitely will take those.
Cool. Well, what's your goal for the next, or what's the next goal that you've got with the book? You said you're going to do these meetings and get your army together. Do you have any other next steps that you're working on?
They're not they're not very concrete steps, but basically it's it's like I told Michael, I started off with 10 episodes of a podcast that ended up being 10 chapters of a book. And that book is called The Chinese Honeymoon Period. And this next book is kind of taking everything from that first book to the next level. So what I'm doing now is I'm hosting a series of meetup events for each chapter of the book. So they're going to be a series of 10 meetup events. And I've actually already hosted a series of 10 before. Now I'm hosting another series. And the offer in this series of meetups is everybody who attends any of the meetup events gets a free ebook, digital copy of the book if they don't already have it. And then I'm offering everybody an opportunity to be an affiliate. So when I relaunch my online program, they can earn 50% commissions, and then offering everybody a chance to be a co-author for the book, like you offered in your LinkedIn. So I have my next event on January the 19th. I have a kind of like a marketing intern who's helping me promote these events. And I have at least 3 people already signed up to be co-authors. I just need to make sure that they're in it for the long haul, which means they're committed to the 6-month process that we meet every week. We go through the latest 2,000 words in the manuscript. They give me ideas. They help me conduct surveys. They help me interview people and stuff like that. And then they get their names in the book.
Cool.
So I'm just putting all that together.
Awesome. Anything I can help out with any of that?
Probably nothing you could help out with that. I don't know. Would you be interested in being a co-author?
I should probably restrain myself, even though it would be interesting for me, just so I don't take on too many things. But definitely, if you want to send it over to me at any point and just say, hey, what's your take on this? You want to take a look? I'm happy to skim it and just give my one-off thoughts.
Yeah. Well, your one-off thoughts are usually pretty detailed, actually. It's like I told you in our last meeting, my writing has improved a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think that somebody who's been writing English for 50 years could suddenly improve how they write. But when you actually start to write a book and you start using Grammarly, and Grammarly starts giving you feedback on what how this is active voice or passive voice or whatever, then you actually start to improve how you write. And I'm pretty excited about that. It used to be really hard for me to write, even though writing shouldn't be difficult, but now it's gotten easier.
That reminds me, lately, I'm at that age. You guys are a little bit ahead of me. I'm turning 48 this year, but the last few years I've gone through that period where you start struggling to remember people's names, and things just don't seem to stick quite the same way as they used to. And so I've been looking for activities or apps or things to just help my memory to develop better or to retain what little I've got left. And I did find this app. I can't really show like the screen very well, but it's called Elevate, and it's got math and memory and other stuff in there, but it also has writing as part of it. And so just analyzing the exercises that they give you for writing, they're actually really good. I've really been impressed with this app. And the writing parts, it will give you phrases. It'll give you like a paragraph and it will say, how do you shorten this paragraph? Or what's not essential in this paragraph? And then you can like tap on that part and cut it out. And I found it to be just a really interesting app from a writing perspective to help me train my mind to be a better writer, to be more concise, to be more clear, to use the right words. Anyway, it's a great app called Elevate. It's free, at least. No, actually, I think there's a free version and a paid version, and I'm using the paid version. But it's $20 a year or something like that. Anyway, I found it well worth it.
Do you think that's one of the struggles most writers have, or copywriters even, to be precise and concise in their words?
Well, I think people who are good at it tend to gravitate to those jobs. So, but they've made the investment somewhere along the line to pick up the skills. For me, I mean, I feel like I'm a decent writer. I feel like I'm a decent copywriter, editor, etc. But these exercises, I feel like, are still helping me to hone my skills and get better and think more about my word choice and the way that I say things. And so even though I feel like I'm probably in a higher percentile than most people who are embarking on writing books, even for me, this app is really helping me out, I feel like, to just hone my craft.
Because it's like the feedback you gave me on my book cover, I thought was spot on. But when I was writing, I thought it was already pretty simple. But, but there's still a lot of unnecessary words there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite activities on this app, is the part where it cuts stuff out, because I love doing that. I don't know. For me, that's fun. That's a game to figure out how to make something shorter and clearer at the same time. And that's one of the reasons I think I love Twitter a little bit too much, is that Twitter, with its character restrictions, it forces you to figure out. I mean, so many times I've been on Twitter and I'm like, I want to copy this quote from somebody, or here's something I want to say, but it's 2 words too long or 3 words too long. And I have to figure out how to cut out words and get it down under that character limit and yet still get the idea across. And for me, the best is when I shorten it, but I actually feel like it's more clear than it was before. And then that's like a win-win for me. And I really have fun with that game. So when you show me your book cover, I'm like, that's the first thing I zoom in on, is how can we cut stuff out here, but actually make it better at the same time?
Yeah.
I love doing that.
Yeah, well, you've been doing this a lot longer. So those senses are more in tune with, better copy, I guess.
Well, that's what this app does, though, is it trains you on that stuff, because it gives you those exercises. And just, I think even beyond just the exercises themselves, just the fact that you're doing something on a regular basis that is asking you to figure out how to say things more clearly, more concisely, just the fact that you train your brain to ask that question, because then every time you look at something, if you go there and you start saying, how can I make this shorter? How can I make it clearer? I think that's a healthy trigger to have in your mind whenever you're looking at text in your book, on your cover, whatever.
Yeah, that's a great idea for your next Facebook Live.
Maybe I might do that.
Just talk about something that's helping you write better.
Yep. Maybe I should do that today before I forget. So
Yeah.
I might see if I can fit that in.
Yeah.
Well, great.
So
Well,
what is the Facebook Live? Is this something you do frequently, Josh?
well, so, the other thing, so the Facebook Live is within the Facebook group, which I don't know about you, Michael, but I actually cannot stand going on Facebook, not because I don't like it, but because it sucks me in. I'll go on Facebook to do one thing, and then a half hour later, I'm like, wait, what did I come here for? Oh yeah, I meant to do this thing, but then I saw this thing that somebody posted, and then I had to respond. So I try to never go to Facebook. However, we use it for our private group, and here's the link to that. So we use it for the private group. So I just bookmark the group so I can go straight to the group, and I don't have to see the Facebook homepage, and I don't have to avoid all that attractive stuff. I just go straight into the group. And that's where we use it to ask questions and share information and stuff. So I post videos there in the Facebook group on things that come up that I think are helpful.
Very good.
Yeah. Also get your, remind us all that you're still our leader.
Right,
by
that I'm still
showing up
alive.
live. Yeah. Showing up live. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great. Well, I think we'll wrap it up here. And Michael, I hope we see you back here next week or the next time that you're available. And Jean, I know we'll see you here next week. And hopefully we'll have a couple other people with us too to join us.
Yeah. By the way, thanks for the like I said, spot on with the book cover tips. I think I'm going to definitely take every one of those and implement it.
Great. Glad I could be of help. Well, thanks,
Right.
Jean. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Haley, for
job.
managing in the background there. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. See
Okay.
you, Michael. Hope to see you next
Thanks
week.
so much. Thanks, Gene.
Yeah.
Bye, Josh.
Bye.